was one of the most exciting things from last year. Watching the end of that season was really exciting in the NCAA tournament. I know you had Akasha and Madison and Kendall, kind of the nucleus of your team. Some really good players around them, and I think you've added a handful of players for this year's team. What did you go after? What kind of pieces were you looking for when you went out recruiting for this year?
Yeah, well, we were very thin last year. We had a roster of 12, which is really small. We did not have backups at most of the positions, or even really competition at most of the positions. And somehow we skated through the year with no injuries, but we would have been in deep trouble if somebody had gone down. In particular, we were looking for, in the transfer portal, we were looking for middles. We only had 2 on the roster last year. They both played all the time. And so we were able to get Kyla Swanson, who was a starting middle for Illinois during their Sweet 16 run. And then Bella Bell. We weren't looking to add more than one, but then Bella Bell, who was a middle blocker at Kentucky on their national championship team, popped up in the portal, and we got to know her, and she was interested in coming too. So we were like, okay, we'll add 2 middles, and we'll figure it out. We'll just figure out the lineup, right? You just got to get the best players on your team, and then you put them where you need to put them. And so we ended up putting Bella Bell on the right, which is not a position she's played before, but it has made us, I think, take a real step forward. Just her size, she's 6'4", Kyla's 6'4", Kendall's 6'6", we're just really big now. And unfortunately, like I said, Bella's been dealing with some injuries, so we'll see how it goes for her this weekend. But that lineup is we've brought the core from last year, and then we've added, these 2 other starters and who are doing a great job. We had some freshmen come in too, Lakin and Jasmine. But we're at a point now where incoming freshmen, it's going to be really hard for them to break into a lineup with the level of player that's in there. But it's great to have a deep team. We have 18 on the roster now. We didn't lose anyone. And so last weekend we had Bella Bell out with an ankle injury. We had Akasha out with an illness. And we were able to replace our 2 starters with 2 people who started last year, Chelsea Harmon, and then Belle Zimmerman. And then we were able to win 2 out of 3 with that lineup. And that would not have happened last year. That would have been an 0-3 weekend for us. So we're set up to absorb some hits, and also if we can stay healthy, the top end is going to be we're significantly better than we were when we were playing Creighton at the end of last year in the tournament. And so that's exciting. You can't control your opponent, so I don't know what that's going to mean with wins and losses, but in terms of the level of volleyball, it's a big step forward.
Yeah. When did all this start with the 6'6" girls? It seems like in the last decade, basketball and volleyball, we see all these girls coming that are 6'6" and 6'4", and has that changed since you were at Southern Cal?
No, I mean it's. I think the decade is right. I think probably 10 years ago, it's just been slowly going up. There wasn't a year where I just was like, oh gosh, everybody's huge. But if you don't pay attention, 2 years later, you open your eyes and it's just everyone's gigantic. It feels like that. So
is it training or is it diet, or what do you think?
If I knew the answer to that, I'd be, I'd open up some shop, right? And I'd be training young people to get scholarships.
Yeah. Well, tell me about expectations a little bit this year. I watched your mic'd up session a little bit before our interview, and you talked a lot about excellence and maybe what you're shooting for this year. Tell us, what would be a successful campaign for Auburn this year in your mind?
If we could, like I said, we can't control the wins and losses, but if we could, if we ended up in the same situation where we're, in the top third of the SEC, if we are, and competing against the top teams well, maybe even beating them, I'd love that. That would mean an NCAA tournament bid for sure. We need to do that again this year. And then, how far you go in the tournament, that is, you just don't know, right? With the seeding, and it's just like men's basketball. It's December madness. So it's crazy. You play these 1 matches against teams from who knows where, and hopefully you can go far enough. But if we had a repeat, and that was kind of that message early in the year, if we could just do the same thing we did last year in terms of wins and losses, to me that's success, because it's really hard to do it over again, especially now we're ranked, we have a target on our back. We're not sneaking up on anybody. That may seem like we're not pushing for like a higher, finish, but I don't think that at all. I think it's way harder to win, when
Mhm.
people know that you're good and they're set up for it. And so yeah, that would be a successful season for me. I mean, the other piece is obviously just playing way better volleyball, which we are. So we're on track to do well, and then hopefully, I thought by year 3 and 4 we would be a good team, and what I meant by good was NCAA tournament, top 40, top 30 in the RPI, and we're kind of there. But for me, I want to, in this next year or so, whether it's this year or next year, I want to take the leap into the top 16, and
Yeah.
really start knocking on the door for Elite Eight, things like that. So maybe that doesn't happen this year, hopefully next year. But we've been ahead of schedule every year I've been here so far. So maybe that's going to be this year.
Yeah. It's hard to believe year 4. But do you find that on the target on your back, like you mentioned, you're not maybe where Florida is right now, but you're in the top 25. Do you see that target on your back when you're playing and when you're out there recruiting?
I certainly see it with, I mean, just our matches this year, the behavior of the teams, when they come into the gym, the way they play against us, the way they celebrate if they win a set or they win a point, it's like, this team just won a set against us and they're acting like they won the Super Bowl,
Yeah. They're storming the
and
field. Huh?
yeah, at 100%, 100%, and you can see, especially with some of the teams that we've played that, it would be an upset if they beat us. You can just see they've got no pressure at all. And they're just like playing, they're just having fun and going crazy. And of course, teams play better like that, right?
Yeah.
And then you can just, our team, you can see like little tents, and things like that. And so that piece is new. And so, learning how to deal with that will be a step forward for our young players. It's new for them.
Yeah. Well, fantastic, Coach. Good luck this weekend, and we're going to try to get out there and see you. Hope that all the Auburn people will do the same, and we'll be watching next week as you have the Gators and get started in the SEC.
Thanks so much for having me, War Eagle.